real cases before a real judge.
Plaintiff Frank Ames says his daughter was married to the defendant, and he took $400,000 to start a business. But the only thing he's good at is running his mouth. Frank says the defendant blew that investment money on personal items, and he's suing for a loan he gave the defendant and his daughter to save their home. Defendant A.J. Reese says Frank's daughter has a drug and alcohol problem, and throughout their marriage, he spent thousands trying to keep her out of jail and her record clean. A.J. blames Frank's daughter for putting them in a financial crisis in the first place.
All right, tell me what happened.
Well, what happened is my daughter, Bethany, who is here with me today, married A.J. in September of 2007. And he had represented himself as being a successful businessman who knew how to run a business, which turned out to be wrong. The only thing he's capable of running is his mouth.
What type of business did he have?
Well, he was going to start a storage business. You know, used store type thing, storage lockers.
Yeah, but what business did he have when you all met him?
He didn't have any business at that point.
What was he doing?
He was working for a carpet laying company.
Okay. So he told you all he was going to get a business.
That's correct.
Not that he portrayed himself as a successful businessman. Well, he portrayed himself as an ambitious businessman.
Well, he had indicated to us that he had previously sold a cable installation business.
Gotcha.
And we didn't check his background. We assumed he was.
So then he came up with a new business, and that was what?
That's correct.
Storage?
That was a storage business.
And what happened there?
Well, he borrowed $400,000 from one of his friend's wives who came into an inheritance.
Wow, 400.
Yeah.
Didn't borrow it, Your Honor. It was an investment. He was a business partner. There was no borrow.
That sounds more reasonable.
He convinced them to invest in this storage business. He was going to get a $2 million loan. They're going to build a humongous storage business.
Okay.
And everything was going fine, except the $400,000. He immediately went out and bought a fancy pickup truck, $40,000. Had a second Harley. He already had one Harley. He decided he needed another, one for show and one for go. So he put another $30,000. Put another $30,000 out for a lowrider chopper. And then he spent 2 and 3 days a week playing golf after he took a big salary out of this $400,000. Wasn't long before the $400,000 was gone. At that point,
he popped about a third of it off. Sounds like.
Well,
Your Honor, I didn't buy those outright. I didn't pay cash for those outright. They were finance vehicles.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
He's big on financing things.
Okay.
So anyway, when the business failed, he ran out of money. He had to go get a job selling Yellow Pages advertising. After a couple of weeks of that, he told me that.
Do they still do that?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, he said he was doing great. He had big commission checks coming in, but at that point he was 3 months behind on his mortgage payment. And he came to us and asked if we would loan him enough money to get current on his mortgage. And he signed a
okay, let me allow him to give some background before we get to the specifics of the loan you're suing for. Yeah, I was just curious about the Yellow Page thing, because with today's technology, it's so easy for people to just very quickly to bloom and know everything they need to know about what it is you're looking for.
Yellow Pages is still successful as far as people out in the rural areas, and that's what kind of company it was, Impact Directors.
You're right. Everyone doesn't have access to that, and so I'm glad Yellow Pages is still in the business. For folks like me who are not very adept at technology, so that's what I still do, go to Yellow Pages.
Absolutely.
Just kidding. I tell my kids to look it up. So you give me some background on yourself. And
something I'd like to expound on, Your Honor, is the $400,000. It was actually $560. It wasn't $400, and it was an investment from a friend of mine that
How much was the total startup?
The total startup was supposed to be $400,000. Okay.
You got more money than it took to start it up.
Well, what we needed to do initially is, whenever Mr. Ames failed to remember, which he's very good at that, not remembering things, is there was economic hard times in 08 and 09. Remember whenever the economy crashed? Mm-hmm. That's the reason why the business went out. We were closing on the business.
Yeah, but let's go back to the structure and the financial interests of the business. I just like to know things, and I'm sure the audience does as well. What percentage of the business did you own?
I had 49%.
You owned 49% of the business.
Yes.
How do you come about 49%? When you put 0 up, most people would expect that person who paid for it all to own 100%, unless, and that's probably what you're going to tell me, unless one party works in their day-to-day and runs the whole operation, and the other is a silent partner, and all they do is finance.
That's what I did every day.
And the person, all the other investor did was finance it.
Correct.
So your 49% was sweat equity.
Yes, sir. I also, my mother at the time had 22 years experience in the storage facility, in that storage industry, and that's why we were going to...
You brought knowledge.
Absolutely.
As capital.
Had a veteran. I negotiated the deal for the property. I put together the business structure. I put together the plan, the proposals. I put together the market demographics. I put together the research. I put together us going to a convention to meet the builders and to meet the operators and the vendors of people who are going to be supplying us our steel.
Day-to-day work, day-to-day operation. So what the viewers should know when you're going into business with someone, just because you put up all the money and you do no work, doesn't mean you should get 100% of the profits. Because the person doing all the work, that's capital. That's the biggest contribution, because they're going to do the work day in and day out every day for as long as the business lasts. And all you're going to sit back and do is collect those profit checks without doing a thing for putting up the initial investment. 20 years from now, if it's making millions of dollars and you're still not doing a thing, you get millions of dollars and just sit back there and watch. Only because you put up $500,000 to get it started. So
I even had 71% of it in accounts receivable contracts that were signed that were already, the storage facility was 71% occupied before we even dropped steel on the ground.
So it sounded like it was successful. What happened?
Well, we were supposed to come up with 10%. 10% of $2 million is 200 grand. Whenever times started getting harder, construction loans were getting dropped left and right. Banks were closing left and right. Bank came back to us and said, no, you need 20% down. So my financial investor and my partner said, you know what, I'll put up another 200 grand. If that's all we need is 20%, that's fine. Well, we went to Vegas, my ex-wife and I, for a convention.
You didn't pop it off. Oh, okay.
No. We went there. We went for a storage. We went there for a storage convention to meet our builder in person, because we had done video communication and we had done emails and things of that sort, and we wanted to put, a face with the name and everything else. So whenever we got out there, we met him. We made an agreement as far as when we were going to have our steel dropped. He needed an initial down payment on that. That's where the other $160,000 came in. That's how I got up to $560,000. Whenever we came back from Vegas, our business plan had been accepted. We had our LOI, which is letter of intent from the financial institution, saying that go ahead and order your steel. Here's the LOI that you're going to be able to provide, that the steel manufacturer is going to need, showing that we are intending on lending you this money.
Bridge loan.
Absolutely. So we got our steel ordered, and whenever we went to close on our loan, we were getting ready to close, and our title adjuster come walking in the door, and title agent, and she said, Mr. Reese, I hate to tell you this, but your bank's closed. And I'm like, that's okay, we'll come back tomorrow. And she goes, no. Today, as of right now, 25 banks across the nation has closed their doors. Remember whenever that was going on?
Of course. And,
absolutely.
And this was one of the banks.
Well, ours was one of them. So we spent another 6 months going from having a 6% construction loan, which United States construction loans across the board were shut down, to 8% hard money, to 10% hard money, to hedge funds, to private investors trying to find another investor.
How much did you all ultimately lose?
$560,000.
That's terrible. Now, we're going to get to the loans you're suing him about, but no, seriously, this is something I think people need to recognize.
It was done. It was a done deal.
They see in person the effects on a small businessman on their way to success. I mean, you got your financing, got everything, you got your suppliers, and you're about to do it, and then the bank goes out of business.
Yes, sir.
Because of these Wall Street crooks.
Absolutely.
All right, 1900 you're suing him for.
Your Honor, his story has touched my heart.
I know what you're about to say. I know what you, however.
But I use the term story because that's all it is. He still came to me when he blew through the 400 grand or 560, whatever it was. Came to me, said, I'm losing my house. I'm behind on my payments. He was behind in his motorcycle payments on the fancy one. He still owned another one. Behind on his pickup truck payments.
So why didn't you tell him just sell it?
Well, I did. He said he's upside down on everything. He owed more than they were worth. So I felt sorry for him. He was married to my daughter. And I thought, well, to save their house, I'll loan him $2,500. I have a promissory note that they signed.
Sir, what do you say to this?
That's true.
So why shouldn't you pay?
Well, what Mr. Ames is unaware of is that his, daughter had a alcohol and drug problem at the time, and caused us a lot of financial burden.
All right, fine. And you were living ghetto fabulous. That's what he says.
No, wasn't living ghetto fabulous.
2-3 motorcycles at a time on the golf course, and don't have a pot to, you know what?
Right.
My older audience, they know what that means, and they accept that statement. Go ahead. But you're trying to blame it on the daughter. She spent all the money on drugs and alcohol.
No. I'm not saying she spent all the money, but she had been involved in a couple of incidences with the law, which Mr. Ames is completely unaware of. I spent money to keep her record clean. I spent money to keep her out of jail. I used my influence in the community as far as the mayor and the chief there to make sure that she didn't get charged with a hit and run accident that she lied about to her family.
When was the divorce? Did it occur after the loan or before?
That occurred after the loan.
The divorce occurred after the loan.
That's correct.
So in divorce court, this is a debt. Was it mentioned in divorce court?
Yes, it was.
And who did the judge order should pay this debt?
Mr. Reese.
Parties stipulated and agreed that there is one joint marital debt owing to Frank Ames in the amount of $3,800. Each party shall be responsible for $1,900 of the debt. That's what he's suing you for. And the husband shall pay his portion of the debt without interest within 1 year from the date of this agreement. When was the divorce order issued? Sounds like you might be in contempt. I better get you out of here if they looking for you. March of 11, okay. Yeah, this was entered in March of 11, and you had 1 year? Let's get him out of here before they come for you. $1,900, sir. The divorce judgment ordered that you pay $1,900 toward this $3,800 debt, and they told you to pay within the year. So to keep you from being arrested for contempt, no, it's only civil contempt. They probably wouldn't arrest him. They would probably garnish you. You're ordered to pay $1,900 and get out of here as soon as you can, because they may come and get you anyway. Have a good day. Judgment for the plaintiff.
If she wouldn't have drank and smoked our financial income away, we wouldn't have been in this predicament to begin with.
I think that's completely false. Completely false.
It's public knowledge. It's on Missouri case nut. I mean, you can't deny it. It's black and white.
Completely false. You can look.
I would suggest that he gets deadbeat loser tattooed on his forehead so he can warn other people about what they're dealing with.